All right, and once again, good evening, everyone. We're so excited to be in our fifth class of this fundamentals track. Cannot believe we're already at class 5. This has been going by exponentially fast. Tonight's class is Fundamentals of Banking and Financial Management, and it will be facilitated by Professor Tamara, who is a Chase Community Manager. She's right here in Roselle. So we really appreciate her continuously supporting this work with the organization as well as specifically with this virtual business and entrepreneurship bootcamp series. So as shared, Ms. Tamara, I'm just going to share my screen for the Mentimeter. Okay, awesome. And also, if one of the other board members on the call, if you could also drop in the chat, I can do so as well. But if you could drop in the chat the link for the students to access the Mentimeter, that would be great. But like I said, if you are unable to, I could do that as well. Okay, let me find it. All right, so scholars, if you can click on the link to the Mentimeter, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, and then once you're in, you can go ahead and start to answer this question. So the first question is, what is a goal? Okay, we have some answers coming in. What is a goal? Okay, we're waiting on two more answers. Two more people would like to answer. All right, let's go to the next one. When should you begin to save? All right, this one's coming in pretty quickly. Okay. Now for this one, I provided a definition, and so your answer is going to be open-ended, and you're going to answer in the form of a question. So similar to Jeopardy. So the answer is gather and compile information from companies that lend to you to create your credit score. So you have to say, what is a blank? So you're going to answer it like a question, almost like Jeopardy. Okay, here we go. All right, I'll give it 10 more seconds, see if any other answers come through. Okay, so this next one is the same thing. You're going to answer in the form of a question. The ability to buy now and pay over time. The ability to buy now and pay over time. What is a blank? Okay, got some answers coming in. All right, I'll give it 10 more seconds for you to get your answers in. The ability to buy now and pay over time. All right, let's move on to the next. Okay. The next one is this is the last one. So, this is again in the form of a question. A 3-digit number that is compiled from the information about your borrowing and payment history. A 3-digit number that is compiled from the information about your borrowing and payment history. What is a credit score? Okay. All right. Yes, like Jeopardy in the form of a question. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for that. And as you know, we'll have a post test at the end just to see the knowledge that you've gained from taking this class with Professor Tamara. So I appreciate you all doing that. She'll share a little bit more, but if you want to go ahead as she's coming to introduce herself and begin the class, go ahead and get your Google Classroom open so you can access the workbook that Ms. Tamara will be referencing this evening. I wish you all a wonderful class. Thank you, Ms. Tamara, for being here. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Latoya, and thank you to the entire SOAR. Scholars, I'm so excited to be here with you all this evening. I pretty much get the opportunity to present workshops to SOAR twice per year, and each time I enjoy it even more. So I hope you all are ready for a lot of the great information we're going to learn today about goal setting, budgeting, saving, and credit. So I saw a lot of great answers in the Menti questions. So I hope that you'll all be taking notes as well. Hopefully, everyone has access to the journal, the workbook. We'll be using those for some of the activities. If for some reason you don't have access to it, it's okay. Having just a pen and paper to write down some of the activities will be perfect. Okay. I do want to do real quick introductions, and we will also state a fun fact about ourselves really quick, and then we will get started with the presentation. First in my Hollywood squares, I have Shania. So Shania, if let me know if I mispronounce your name too, but also your fun fact, please.
Uh, a fun fact about me is that I love to read books.
Oh, really great. Any favorite books or any specific genres that you like?
I like Black history books, nonfiction, and fiction, like biographies.
I love the Black History books. I love that. Thank you. I have Micah next.
My name Makai.
Sorry, Makai.
Yeah, and a fun fact about me.
Yes.
Uh, my favorite sport is football.
Football. Favorite team?
49ers.
49ers. Okay. They almost made it, right? To the Super Bowl, I
Lost.
think.
We did make it. We made it to the Super Bowl, but we lost in this.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe next year though. All right, thank you. I have Noah next.
Well, my favorite kind of books are let's see, business related books because I always want to like start my own company and become rich.
Oh, I love to hear that. Start your own company and become rich. All right, so we'll be talking about those goals today too. Thank you for sharing. Next, I have Winifred.
Fun fact about me is that I like to crochet.
Like to
I've
crochet. Very nice.
Yeah, I've made some things already, like a hat and a blanket.
Oh, really nice. Really nice. Thank you for sharing. All right, next I have Joelle.
My name is Joel. I like to travel.
What's your favorite place to travel?
Um, the farthest I ever traveled was Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico? Okay. I like Puerto
Yeah.
Rico. I've been there about twice. Thank you for sharing. All right, Jasmine.
Hi, my name is Jasmine, and just like Winfred, I also enjoy crocheting, although I'm not that good at it.
I'm sure that you'll get better. It's okay, right? You're learning. Okay. Great, great. Thank you for sharing. All right, I have Zen.
Um, I like anime.
You like anime? I'm not sure if I heard it. Was that a yes?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Zen. All right, let's see. Did I miss anyone? Cam?
My name's Cameron, and a fun fact about me is that I like playing soccer.
Like playing soccer. Any favorite team with soccer?
I like Brazil.
Brazil. Okay. My dad's a Brazil fan.
Yep.
Great, great. All right, let's see. Who do I have next? Sorry if I mispronounced the name. Sir Minta?
Samantha, we saw you unmuted, but we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you.
It's okay. If you want to put in the chat, that's fine.
Okay.
And then just want to make sure that I didn't miss anyone. Is that everyone on the
I don't know if
list?
did Nathaniel go?
Nathaniel. Yes, I see Nathaniel on the list here. All right, Nathaniel, you can close us out.
A fun fact that I have is I love to play basketball and watch basketball.
I love basketball too. My favorite team is Celtics. Who's your favorite team?
Golden State Warriors.
Golden State? Okay, okay, not bad. I like them too. They were my top 5. All right. Thank you everyone for sharing. Again, today we're going to be going over a lot of information. This is really quick, the agenda. We already got through introductions. We did the pre-test. And now we're going to do the goal setting, budgeting, and saving. We'll take a little break and then we'll come back and do credit building and then the post-test and questions and close out. Right? So thumbs up if we are ready to get started. Thumbs up if we're ready to get started. I see a few thumbs coming in. A few. All right, that's better. All right. All right, so we'll be talking about your financial journey. This financial journey will be particular for you all right now when you're trying to figure things out in terms of life. You're trying to figure out your goals, trying to figure out some things that maybe you want to do for your future. So we'll be talking a lot about your budgeting, your saving, and your goals for this first half. Do you want to read this disclosure for everyone? This is for informational, educational purposes only. My job as a community manager for Chase is to provide financial education. However, when you visit branches, you may sit down with a banker. The information that they provide you may be different because they're giving information specifically around products and services. So the views expressed on this event, they may differ from other employees and departments at JP Morgan and Chase. The views and strategies described, they may not be appropriate for everyone. They're not intended as specific advice or recommendation for any individual. You should always carefully consider your needs and objectives before making any decisions and consult appropriate professionals, outlooks, and past performances. There are not guarantees of future results. All right. So starting off, we'll be talking about, again, your goals and your financial journey. Our first activity will be on page 1 in your journals. If it's okay, if you don't have access to the journal, a pen and paper again will be okay. So we're going to be answering 3 questions. The 3 questions we're going to be answering is, have you ever set a financial goal? Have you ever created a monthly budget? And have you ever checked the credit score? What we'll do for the sake of time, we will use our thumbs up reaction button to answer those questions, okay? So I'll start with the first one. Have you ever set a financial goal? Thumbs up if you ever set a financial goal. Thumbs up if you ever set a financial goal. And if you have your journal in front of you, you can feel free to fill that in too. Okay, I see a hand up. Okay. Thumbs up. Okay. Let's see in the chat. Okay, a few thumbs up in the chat. Latoya, I see the comment. Go Knicks. All right, Noah, thumbs up. Okay, good, good. All right, next one. Have you ever created a monthly budget? Thumbs up if you've ever created a monthly budget.
If I interrupt for just a quick question, quick second, Mr. Mayor, does everyone know
Sure.
how or where to find a thumbs up?
No, I have no idea.
So if you see a little bar where you can mute yourself, turn the video on and off, it should be a button there that says reactions. If it's not directly on your screen, if you see the three dots that says more, you can click that and you'll look for where it says reactions. And the reactions will have all the different types of emojis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you're using the chat, it's the emoji symbol in the chat, and then you can do your thumbs up from there. And there's more options with emojis there too. All right, so I'll ask this question again. Have you ever created a monthly budget? Thumbs up if you've ever created a monthly budget. And if you haven't, it's okay. All right, and then last one, have you ever checked your credit score?
Professor Tamara, I think they might have a hard time. Oh, no. Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if they've ever done the thumbs down.
Okay, I see the thumbs down coming in now.
Yeah, I see it now too.
All right. All right. So that's okay. This is why today we're doing this class is why we'll be learning. So some of these things, they may be new to you, may have heard some of these terminology. But either way, we'll make sure that we answer all of your questions and we also learn together today. All right. So in terms of your financial journey, you think about whenever we're traveling anywhere, right? So for example, we get in the car, we don't know where we're going. We would use a what? Anybody can either shout it out or put it in the chat. What would we use when we don't know where we're going?
Map.
When we're in the
GPS.
car. GPS. All right. Now I hear everybody participating. Great. Right.
Yeah.
So the GPS will give us directions. The directions is what we will use to be able to guide us through our goals today. The GPS will be overall serve as our goals. Okay. So the first step of every journey, we need to know exactly where we are currently in the moment. Right. That foundation is going to help us look at our options and be able to plan for our future. Right now, a lot of you may have ideas in terms of whether you want to start up a business, right? I heard that earlier. I heard you want to get rich. You may want to go to college, right? Pursue your career, maybe go to a trade school. Either way, some of those goals that will require to know a little bit about money management, right? So we'll be talking a lot about that. It's important to always know what is it that you want to do so that it'll help you make better money decisions along the way, right? How much will these things cost? And also planning for the unexpected costs as well. So starting where you are, this was one of the questions in the Mentimeter, right? It's never too early to start saving. Never too early to start saving. So with this next activity, we'll be thinking and talking about a time that you saved up for a goal. And this will be in your journal, page 2 and 3. How did you approach it and what was the result? So some of you may have saved up, let's just say for a birthday to buy someone else a gift. Maybe you wanted to get a laptop. Maybe you wanted to get a cell phone. Maybe you wanted to buy like a car, right? What was the goal? How did you approach it? And what was the result? Did the goal actually work for you? Right? So we can take about a minute to think about that. And then I'll get a volunteer brave soul to share with us. And actually, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, Jasmine, ready to share with us?
Yes. So a goal that I'm currently working on is saving up for a car. I'm 17 and I'm about to take my road test actually this month, later this month. So I started saving up for a car last year, when I was like 16, and I started like, realizing like, it's about to be that time. um I approached it, I don't know if I approached it correctly or like in like a very specific way. I just decided one day like I need to start saving. I do work, so every week I just decided that I'm going to, depending on how much I work, I usually work the same amount of days. Depending on how much I work, I'm going to save around $100 for me to use, for leisure. And the other half of how much I have left, I would put it away or take it out of my card and put it in a special place. And that's really it.
Jasmine, that sounds exactly right to me. Right? It's exactly when it comes to saving, right? And then figuring out, are you budgeting and what are you budgeting for? So your goal is to be able to save up for a car. So and I love how you said it, putting some aside for leisure and then the rest you're going to save. So that is a great method. Now, when you get the car, make sure you let us know, right? You can come pick us up when you get your car. All right. Anyone else would like to share with us a goal that they have, that's something they saved up for? Anyone else before we go to the next question? All right. So the next question is, why is it important to save? Why do you think it's important to save? And this one will take 2 volunteers for this one. Feel free to raise your hand.
I think it's
All
important
right.
to save. I think it's important to save because you will always have something to fall back on in case things go wrong.
Thank you, Makai. And yes, definitely need to save for emergencies. With the pandemic, most people, that's the first thing that they said. They said they wish that they prepared. They wish that they had something put to the side, emergency saving or rainy day fund, because we don't know unexpected costs, right? So Jasmine just shared with us she wants to be able to get a car, especially with cars. Cars are the things that you never know when you're going to need a tire. You never know when you're going to be able to need something to get fixed. So always preparing for the unexpected. Thank you, Makai. All right. And I have, okay, perfect. I have Sir Minta and then Shania.
Mhm. Yeah, it's important. It's important to save because if you need money for like if you need to get more oil put in your car, or if you need money for gas or to buy food and other stuff too. So
Thank you,
yeah.
Shania. And just having money in general for our budget, right? For our basic necessities. And today we'll talk a lot about that too. What is actually included in the budget, the things that we need on a daily basis. All right. And then Sir Minta, I did see your hand up. Did you still want to share with us? Or is your mic still not working?
Yeah, she still might be having audio issues.
Okay, so feel free to type in the chat. All right. So at the bottom, you'll see where it says being good at saving is less about how much you save each time, but more about the habit itself, right? So when it comes to saving, it doesn't matter if you decide to save like $5, if you decide to start at $10, right? It's just creating an amount, and the habit itself will now help you for any goal that you have in the future, but just starting off somewhere. All right. So thinking about goals, a lot of times we think about goals and we think that is just for now, but goals are not just about setting it for now, right? It also could be setting it for later in our future. Again, setting those goals will give us directions. That is our GPS to keep us focused on the financial future that we want. So now when we think about goals, how are goals actually divided? It is divided into 4 different time frames, right? So you might have a goal that's immediate, that's less than 6 months. That goal could be starting to save, maybe $5 a week. Maybe you want to open up a savings account. Maybe you want to earn money with a side hustle, right? Maybe somebody in here might draw and then you can make money off of your drawings, right? Maybe someone cooks and you can sell plates and make money from there. That might be something that is immediate. A short-term goal would be something that's less than 2 years. Saving for unexpected costs, as Makai just said to us, right? Saving for a laptop or a car, as Jasmine shared. Planning for your career, right? Now we have a medium-term goal that's 2 to 5 years. It could be earning your degree. It could becoming an entrepreneur, or maybe saving up for a home. Then you have long-term goal, which is all the way in the future, 5 years or more. Maybe you want to start up a family. Maybe you want to become a homeowner. And maybe you want to start thinking about retirement. Okay, so these are our 4 types of goals: immediate, short term, medium term, and long term. So next in our journal on pages 4 to 5, we're going to think of a goal that we have in mind, but not just think about the goal. We also want to think about, when do we want to complete that goal by? When do we want to complete that goal by, right? So we would actually share, for example, Jasmine, you said you want to buy a car. Well, what is your time frame to purchase that car? Okay, a goal without a date is just a wish. So we'll think about a goal that we have, and then you'll also add in the date to that goal. Okay, so we'll take 1 minute for that. Thank you, Sir Minta, for adding in the chat as well. Yes, Jasmine.
My goal is actually starting, it's about to wrap up. My end date for this goal is actually June of this year, since I started last year in around February when I first got my job. So yeah.
Really good, really good. So June 2024.
Yes.
Thank you, Jasmine. Anyone else want to share their goal and their time frame? Feel free to use the chat as well. Feel free to use the chat.
Want to get my own house by this summer.
Makai, did you say purchase a home?
Mm-hmm.
By when?
This summer.
This summer? Okay. And have you started already saving for the home?
Indeed, I have.
Great, great. So this takes us into the next portion of our session. So making sure that our goals are SMART, right? So the breakdown of SMART is S for specific, asking yourself, what is it for? Where will it happen? Next, we have M for measurable, having a target that you can measure to see how close you are to your goal, right? So next we have A for achievable, finding the motivation to accomplish your realistic goal. Then we have R, relevant, creating the reason behind your goal, right? It will keep you driven more. And then we have the T for time bound, and end date helps us track progress to reach our goal. This is how we create our plan. So you'll see at the bottom the full sentence here. If we're making a goal SMART, the objective for this is to plan for unexpected costs. So I want to have an emergency fund of $200 in a savings account to prepare for the unexpected. I will save $10 a week for 20 weeks to reach my target by the end of this year. So you see in 2 sentences, we have a SMART plan. So with all the goals that you all created for yourself, for the first part, you have your specific, you have your goal, then you have your time bound. Now, the measurable, achievable, and relevant, that's sometimes it depends on what your goal is, right? Some goals may require a little bit of a research. For example, if you're buying like a car, okay, what's your budget to buy the car, right? If you're looking maybe for like your first apartment, well, what's my budget for my security deposit, including for the rent? That would be a measurable. Your achievable is you want to make sure that you can achieve that goal. So I asked Makai, I said, have you started? Right? Because he said by the summer. So ensuring that you already have a plan in place. Jasmine shared in her example that she was putting 100 aside for leisure. The other portion was going for her car. So creating a plan. So that plan could be you're going to put aside $50 every 2 weeks, $100 every 2 weeks from every paycheck. You decide again. And then the relevant is always knowing why is this important to you. And then the time bound keeps you on track, right? Sometimes with our time bound though, we have to maybe adjust it. Maybe we have to add on an additional 2 months or 3 months because plans don't always work out sometimes the way that we plan it out, right? But we give ourselves some grace and then we can continue until we do reach our goal. Okay. All right. So page 6 to 11, this is where you all can take some time, not necessarily now, but take some time where you have your goals, you write it down. Just ensure that your goal is, again, specific, measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it is time bound. So all of our goals will require money for the most part. So that sometimes means that we have to set up a budget. When you all hear the word budget, what do you think of? If you were to describe budget in one word, we could feel free to put it in the chat. If you hear the word budget, what comes to mind? Organization. Oh, I really like that one. Organization, financial plan. Really good. What else do we think of? What else? This is some great words. This is the first time I heard organization and financial plan. Capping the money you spend at a certain point. Yes, right? Telling ourselves that this is the most that I could spend today. Financial plan. Latoya, you said no takeout. Saving money. Yes, budgeting is definitely about saving money, right? Sometimes cutting back on our expenses. Thank you all for sharing. So overall, the budgeting a lot of times is thinking about spending less than we earn is one way to help make sure that we have enough to meet our needs. So Shania was sharing earlier in her example, pretty much the needs, right? We need food, we need shelter, um, anything that would deem a basic necessity. These are the things that would be priority when it comes to the budget. Everything else, the things that we want, for example, like maybe we have like an iPhone 13, we want to get an iPhone 15, right? That's something that we want, not necessarily a need. And any other type of items or even electronics, things that are not priority right now, things that's not in our budget yet, those are the things that we would save to the side. Now let's look at how do we actually create a budget. So budgets will always include first the income, the source of income. We always need to know what's coming in, right? So if we have a job or we have like a side hustle, you always want to know what is your monthly income that you're receiving. And then next, how do you keep track of your money? Always asking yourself, how do you keep track? Some people write it down. Some people use like apps. There's a lot of like budget tool apps out there. Some of the banking apps, they do like a spending report for you. So they already tell you where your money is going. But it's important to always know first how much money is coming in. Next, you have what's going out. These are our expenses, right? Regular expenses, right? Raise your hand if you have bills. Let's see who in here is paying bills yet. So like maybe like a cell phone bill. Okay, Jasmine. Okay. Okay, good. So I mean, even if we don't have bills yet, this will definitely be beneficial and useful information, right? Even if we don't have it yet, sometime in the future we will. So the expenses are the things that we have to spend the money on, plus the things that maybe we're spending money on that may not necessarily be a need, but a want. And then we have, again, that magic word, those unexpected expenses, right? A lot of times we have to prepare for that as well in our budget. So if you see here, it's like a little small budget here, and it says it's on page 13 to 15 in your journals. You first start off with the income, then you have the must pay expenses, right? These are the things that are mandatory to pay the bills. Like if you have an apartment, for example, you have utilities, those things must be paid, right? Then you have the optional expenses. These are the things that you may want. You subtract all of that from the income, whatever's left over, that will be your monthly savings. If there is nothing left over, that means now we have to go back through the budget, right? And now start to figure out, well, how do you cut back to now create some type of saving, right? It's always important to use this method here. So that way you'll know if there's anything available to save. And if there is not, now you can readjust your budget. So I do want to share this on screen with you all here. Sometimes with budgeting, it's about making like a small change so that you can make that big difference, right? With the economy right now, it's unsteady, I would say for the most part. We're going through like inflation. Can anybody tell me what inflation is?
It's the rise in prices
The rise in
for
prices, right?
products. Mhm.
Exactly. So like gas definitely went up. I want to say last week I saw there's a big change in gas. Food has been up for probably the last like 6 months to a year or so. Everything price wise is changing. So when you're thinking about saving, the cost of living when that goes up, right? So that means that now you also have to adjust depending on how much money that you're making. So looking at the screen here, I'll skip $1 and I'll go straight to $5. If you spend $5 less every day in 1 year, that's $1,825, right? That's 1 year. Now, some of our goals may not necessarily just be a 1 year goal, maybe like a 5 year goal, maybe something long term, right? Or 10 years. 5 years, $9,130. If you're looking at 10 years, even more, $18,260. And that's just from saving $5 a year. If we think about maybe some of the things that we may purchase every day, maybe what we spend the money most on, most people say snacks, food, right? But again, it doesn't necessarily mean for us not to have the things that we like, but what is the other option, right? For example, if you like coffee in the morning, can we make coffee at home? If you like tea, can you make tea at home? Right? If we eat out a lot, can we cook at home? Can somebody at home cook for us? Finding other options to be able to cut back on those expenses. If you bring it down to $10, we're getting even more of a saving, right? And let's just say 5 years, $10 less every day, 18,260, right? And in 10 years, 36,520. So some of the goals that we have, it starts by making a small change day by day. All right. Any questions so far on this? All right. So, any takeaways from what we just talked about in our first part of this session? Any takeaways? Anything that you all feel like you'll do different based off what we just learned about goal setting, budgeting, saving? Feel free to use the chat as well. Or if anyone wants to raise their hand. Yes, Jasmine.
I think my biggest takeaway was definitely with the budget. Um, being able like definitely, yeah, being able to save money in being more convenient, like eating at home, cooking at home, doing stuff like that, because over this past year I have struggled with my budget. Like sometimes I'll see that I'm spending more than I'm supposed to, in terms of how much I'm supposed to save. So I'm definitely gonna definitely think about that more.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jasmine. Thank you for sharing. A budget will always be beneficial, right? It'll always be beneficial. And the good thing I like about budget is we can always go back and fix it. We could always go back and adjust it. Anyone else would like to share before we take a break? Any
My takeaway from
takeaways?
this is mostly the wants and the needs, which is really important. Getting what you actually need versus what you want. Because if you get what you need, you're growing financially. But if you get what you want, you're basically spending your money.
Thank you, Winifred. Thank you. And that's exactly that, right? Going with the needs before the wants. And if we keep that habit, it'll help us deep, deep, deep into the future, right? When we're planning for everything else and the other financial goals that we may have. All right. So I want to give you all a time for a little bit of a break. You want to grab a snack, use the restroom or anything. We will be back at 7:20. Okay. 7:20. Hope everyone had a great break. So this session, we are going to start talking about credit. So I'm just going to put up our presentation now. All right. right. So we'll be talking about building credit and managing credit. First thing I always ask is credit money? Is credit money? Feel free to give a thumbs up if you think that credit is money. Thumbs up if you think that credit is money. Or you can put a yes or a no in the chat. See, I see some thumbs down. I see no, no, no. I see yes. Okay, so mixed reviews. So credit is money, but it's borrowed money, right? So everyone is right? It's borrowed money. It's not our money. It's not like it's money on our debit card or cash that we have in our pocket. It is borrowed money that we have to pay back. So we're going to break down a lot of the terminologies when it comes to credit so you all understand. When you hear the words like credit, credit score, credit report, credit bureau, we know what the terminologies mean. It's always important to know the basics, foundations to make smart choices. Before I started working in banking 11 years ago, I knew nothing about credit. I didn't know how to build credit, how to manage credit. I had a lot of credit cards. I let the balances go too high, and then I had to learn the hard way to fix my credit, right? But we're going to learn all the great information to start from the beginning and managing it the right way. So, the basics of credit is first knowing what are the benefits of using credit, right? So, if I was to ask you all the benefits of using credit, what would you all say? Feel free to raise your hand to come off of mute or use the chat. What are the benefits of using credit? Okay. Athos, is that the correct pronunciation?
Athos.
Athos.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Athos, thank you. We're ready for you.
I wanted to say that maybe you're like having a hard time with money right now, and you need cash immediately. So credit can help for like making up for that lack of money, like in the
Right.
moment.
Yes, thank you for sharing, Athos. So credit could be an emergency use. All right, Shania.
Or you can use credit as like a loan for college and for trade school.
Yes, so like a student loan. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Investing in our education and investing in our future. Thank you for sharing. Right, Jasmine?
To build off of what Shania said, on like loans off of like, credit and stuff, you also get like better rates. I've heard like for
Really
like
good.
school loans, especially.
All right. So school loans a lot of times is the first way we start building credit. But if we've already had credit before, yes, you do get better rates. So if you hear the word interest rate, it's pretty much just the money we pay on top of the money that we borrow. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a few slides. But the benefits of having the credit overall, it does give us access to money. Usually typically large amounts of money that we would have in our accounts. So thank you all for sharing great descriptions of the benefits of credit. Now, what about the costs? What are the costs of credit? Feel free to use the chat and let's hear from some people that we have not heard from yet. Let's see who we haven't heard from yet.
It could put you in debt.
Yes, it can does that Noah? Yes, it can definitely put you in debt, right? If we don't pay back the credit, it could definitely put us in debt, right? There could be fees. A lot of time there are fees when it comes to credit if we don't pay on time. Any other costs that it may cost us? Yes, Shania.
Like like if you don't like pay your bills or pay your rent and certain things like for your house, like you pay your mortgage or your utility bills, for example, if you don't pay like certain bills for your house and pay your landlord the money for the house and stuff like that, then you might get evicted and you'll end up homeless.
Right, Shania, and you gave a great example because believe it or not, even with not paying rent what could happen is if we do get evicted, that can show up on your credit report. And some people think that the two are not related, but they could be down the line, right? Once a landlord reports that you haven't been paying rent and then you get evicted, that is something that could be a public record on our credit report as an eviction. And then now no one else wants to rent to us. So really great share and add. All right, Jasmine.
So yeah, not only can it lead to overspending, like you said in the beginning, a lot of people have this experience. I see it too in a lot of the adults around me. Like they often get credit cards, but they often max them out, and then the interest on top of having to pay back the original amount is often too much on top of other bills and can lead to it being, yeah, inf like infracted, I guess, on your credit, and it leads to a bad credit score.
Yes, Jasmine, and thank you so much for that add-on because even when they give us a certain amount of money, that doesn't mean they want us to use all of the money, right? They don't want us to max out of our credit cards because then that means that it's hard for us to pay it back. So we also have to manage those credit cards, manage the balances as well, right? The same way how we budget our regular budget and stuff, we have to budget when it comes to our credit cards. It is there for emergencies, but we want to do it as a need basis, not necessarily always a go-to for every purchase, every transaction. Really, really great as that you all shared. So now you're probably thinking if you have never again checked your credit report at all, but sometime in the future, some of these things that you do want to be able to get, for example, a student loan, that usually be the first part of a lot of people's credit history, right? Student loans, the thing with those, they last until you finish school and then you start paying them off and then they're fully paid off, right? So those for a lot of people, they have student loans for like 20 years, 30 years, depends on how long they take to pay them down. Credit cards is another type of card that is pretty much it's unlimited in terms of time frame. There's no set time when you have to pay credit cards back. Credit cards could be opened forever, as long as you're making sure that you're paying those credit card bills on time. There's something called authorized user, and this is definitely something that I'm sure your families will be so mad that you learn about this, but it's called authorized user where they can add you to their credit card, right? Without having to do any application, anything like that. Some parents, I know that they do it for their kids and the kids don't even know. But when they add you as authorized user, it helps you build up credit history from their credit history. Again, as long as they're paying on time, even sometime in the future for you all, if you want to be able to start building your credit, you can be added on to anyone credit that you know that you trust and you know that they're paying their bills on time, they're managing those credit card bills really well. Authorized user really is like picking back off of somebody else's credit card. Okay. And then that help you build your credit and also help you manage your expenses. When you're authorized user, it doesn't mean that necessarily the person have to hand you over a credit card. They have that option, but again, it helps you build up with that payment history. Some people, the first time that they're looking to rent an apartment, this is when they doing like their first credit check, right? Most landlords will require a credit check. And the reason they require a credit check is because they want to check things. They want to check if you've ever been evicted from someplace else. They want to check to see if you're paying your credit bills on time. More than likely, you'll pay your rent on time. Credit is really associated with responsibility and accountability. That's why we have to spend credit wisely, use credit wisely, and manage credit wisely because it could get us in a lot of trouble. And then it's harder to repair and rebuild credit once we already get to that point. As Jasmine was sharing, we max out the credit cards, we have high interest rates, and then now it's like we can't even figure out how to pay everyone back as well. Next, you have auto loan, right? So the first time that you want to buy your car, if you're going through like a dealership, this will be another opportunity to be able to have credit. They'll give you options in terms of loans when you want to pay it back. And also, this is when you'll really be thinking about, well, interest rate, what your interest rates will be like, the terms with the loan. They'll be looking at your credit score. They'll be running a credit report and application on you as well. Okay, so these are some ways to build credit. Now, I said that we will be going over some terminology, so feel free if anyone wants to take notes on this. We're going to do the trivia together. So I'll read the definition and then we can put in the chat what we think it is. Okay. So the first one says your track record of credit payments over time. Is this credit credit bureau, credit report, or credit score? Your track record of credit payments over time. Feel free to use the chat. Yeah, I see credit report, credit report, credit report. Okay. Credit report. A lot of votes for credit report, and so far 1 vote for credit. We're missing a few. All right, and then we'll go over all of them together once we have. Okay, I have another credit report. Okay. The next one, most of your credit, and remember your answers, okay? Most of your credit and payments are reported to them. Is this the credit bureau, credit report, or credit score? Most of your credit and payments are reported to them. I see credit bureau, credit bureau, credit bureau. I have a bonus question because everybody's saying credit bureau. Who are our credit bureaus? Do we know? It's 3 of them. This is a bonus question. Okay, everyone's saying credit bureau. All right, we'll come back to the bonus question at the end. All right, next one. This indicates how likely you are to repay a loan or make payments on time. Is it credit bureau, credit report, or credit score? I see credit score, credit report. Equifax, yes, that is one of our credit bureaus. Thank you, Jasmine. Credit score.
Is Bank of America another one too?
Say that again.
Bank of America, is that another example?
Bank of America do provide us our score from their app. I see Experian, that's 2. And there's one more. Everyone said credit score for the 3rd one. And then TransUnion. Yes, that is all 3. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Those are all 3 credit bureaus. Really good. All right. Last one. The ability to buy now and pay later. Is this credit bureau, credit report, or credit score? I see credit score. Credit. Okay, so let's put up the answers. Right? So raise your hand if you got them all right. You got all 4 right. Okay, really good, really good, really good. All right, so I want to say like the first one, maybe the one we weren't too sure about, but your track record of your credit payments over time, that's definitely your credit report. Credit report is, I would compare it to like your report card, right? In terms of grades, when you're applying to like college and stuff like that, they're gonna look, oh, let's see how your grades were in school, right? Or even like you go to apply for a job looks at your resume. The job is looking at your past skills and experiences. Credit report does the same thing, gives all the detailed information in terms of who you borrow from, how much you borrow, if you owe, if you forgot to pay anyone, if you paid late. All that information will be detailed on the credit report. The credit report is generated by the credit bureau. There's where the information is reported to them. The lenders will report to them. And then the credit bureaus also will provide a credit score to any other lender that you decide to apply to. Okay, so really, really, really good. All right, so now thinking about building credit, it's again important to know the basics so that you can decide how credit will be part of your financial journey. Applying for credit will show up on credit reports. So every time that you apply for like a credit card, whether it's in a department store, whether it's at Macy's, Target, whether you go buy a car, you apply for a student loan in the future for everyone that said they want to buy a home. You apply for mortgage. All these things will show up on your credit. All right. So you always have to think about your goals. You always have to think about your budget. And most importantly, think about your ability to pay. Can you afford this credit? Right? Can you afford that credit? So now thinking about our score, the good news is nobody starts at zero when it comes to credit scores. It is a 3-digit number. You'll see here our 3 main credit bureaus. That was our bonus question. Again, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Can anyone tell us what is the lowest possible credit score we can have? The lowest possible.
1.
Athos, what was that?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Yeah, I see you have your hand raised. Did you want to share with us the lowest possible?
Yeah, I think it's 350. I remember seeing a chart or something.
Very
Is it
close,
like in the
300.
300s?
Very close,
Yep, close
300.
enough.
Yep. Close, very close. 300. And then Jasmine, what is the highest? Oh,
Um,
Jasmine put her hand down.
I
Okay.
think 800.
Higher than that. Shania, you want to take a guess?
I think it would be 700 or over.
It's definitely over 700. It's over 800. Take
Would
one
it
more
be
guess.
900?
Less than 900.
850?
Yes, 850. So the lowest possible score we can have is 300. The highest is 850. So again, the credit
So
bureaus.
that's for credit score, right?
Yes, that's for the credit score. Yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
Sure. Right? So again, with the credit bureaus, I'll just go back on screen. What they do is they generate the score, they gather the information from everybody we borrow from, and they now will send out the credit report with our credit score to those lenders that we want to now borrow money from. Okay, so again, those things are all important: credit report and a credit score. Now, how are they deciding our score? This is what you'll be looking at with this chart here. It's called the Vantage score, which is this Vantage 3.0. If anyone had ever heard of the word FICO, FICO is a different system that some of the credit bureaus may use. So the chart changes a little bit with FICO, but we'll be going over Vantage for today. So 40% of our credit will always be, and our score will always be based off payment history will always have the highest bulk when it comes to our overall credit, right? The payment history is a track record of making those payments on time. A lot of tips to be able to pay our payments on time. We can schedule the payment when it comes to credit. You can set up auto pay. We could put reminders in our calendar. But credit is the bills that we cannot forget to pay, right? There are some bills, like maybe our cell phone bill, that give us like a grace period for like a day or two, but credit doesn't give us grace period, right? So earlier when we're talking about what are the costs, when we pay late, there could be fees. Our interest rates can also go up, right? They're reported to the credit bureau, and now our credit score can go down. We'll lose points. So you always want to be very mindful when it comes to your credit bills and ensuring that you're paying those credit bills on time. Again, as you're monitoring and tracking it, so are the other lenders when you go to apply for anything new. You don't want a lender to ever see that you made a late payment, right? Because we don't want them to think that we're a risk to let us borrow money. So paying the bills on time, when it comes to that as well, credit lenders will always give you a minimum payment. So if they tell us that the minimum payment for the month is $50, we at least have to pay $50, at least $50 or more. Okay, minimum payment. And then a lot of times with credit cards have a cutoff time. So they might say 5 p.m. Eastern time. That means we have to pay by 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you pay by 5:01, like whether you call over the phone or you do it online, the system will read it as a late payment. If for some reason that happens where you do make a late payment, life happens, right? You want to call the lender right away. You let them know what happened, and then you make now an arrangement with them to make the payment. All right, that is payment history. Next, we have credit history. This is the length of credit history and the different types of credit. This is 21% of your score. So you always want to keep your accounts open and in good standing. It's not recommended to close out credit cards because if you had a credit card, for example, like for 10 years, once you close out that credit card, you lose that full history of that credit card. So it benefits your score when that credit card stays open for a long time and in good standing. So ensuring that you're paying on time again. Now, the other part is different types of credit. Lenders like to see that you have a mixture, right? So although we're being smart with credit, we're being wise when we're applying for credit, but lenders like to see that a lot of other people let you borrow money. They like to see that you got a credit card, you got a car loan, you got a mortgage, you got a personal loan, right? Different types of credit on your credit report is actually positive towards your score. That's 21%. Next, we have credit usage. This is 20% of our score when you're looking at Vantage. So what they do is a little ratio formula. So if you have a credit limit of $1,000, you get approved. Not saying that you can't use $700, $800 on that credit card, right? But it is a great method. It is a great best practice. They have a threshold for you to maintain 30% or less, which would be $300 or less of the $1,000 limit. You would do 30% of whatever your full limit is, right? Compare the amount of the credit you use so what you can still borrow. So again, that's 20% of our score. So if we're able to maintain the 30% or less, we'll see that our score stays in a positive. Once you start to go above that 30%, this is now when we're getting in that red line. And then the lenders now, they want to see that we start to make an effort to pay back those credit cards. All right. Now, next you have balances. This is total in terms of what is current and then what is past due. You want to try to keep your credit card balances as low as possible. Try to pay them on every month. Again, pay your minimum payment or more if you can. Sometimes people pay their credit cards twice in a month. If you want, that is definitely an option, right? You always want to show to the lender that you are not reaching your credit limits. As Jasmine was sharing her example, and she's saying that she sees that a lot of people max out credit cards. And yes, when you max out credit cards, it doesn't make the lender want to let you borrow more money, right? Instead, that they're worried when you're maxing out your credit cards, right? You don't want them to worry. All right, now we have recent credit 5%. This is the number of recently opened credit card accounts and hard credit inquiry, or if you hear the word hard credit check, automatically that means you lose points, right? That means that someone ran your credit report. That means that maybe you went to like Target or you went to Macy's or you went to go buy a car maybe and they ran a credit report. That will all be hard credit checks. Apply for credit as you need it. Too many new accounts open at the same time could lower your score, right? The other thing with recent credit, does anyone know how long the credit application will last on your credit report? Anyone wants to take a guess? Feel free to either raise your hand or put it in the chat. Yes, Shania.
I think it could be like, I'm guessing a decade, 10 years.
Less than that. Believe it or not, less than that.
Uh,
So good guess. 2 years. The application itself will be on your credit report for 2 years, right? And that's whether or not we got approved. So that's whether or not we went to go buy the car or we got the car and drove off the lot with the car, whether or not we got approved for the credit card. So it's also another reason why before applying for credit, you want to know where you stand. You want to know what your credit look like. You want to know what's on your credit report. In my banking experience, when I used to work in the branches, people would wait till they got to the bank to apply for a credit card to know what their credit score looked like, to know who they owed and what the balances were, what the collections were. Collections are the past due amounts that the accounts become delinquent. You didn't pay the company back. The company sends it to collection for a collection agency now to collect the money from you, right? So those are all things that will show up on our credit report, but we want to know that well in advance, not when we start to apply for credit. So recent credit is a 5%, small number, but definitely a mighty number. Next, we have 3% available credit. This is for the amount that you have not used. This is part of your available balance. So again, if you're able to maintain that 30% or less or keep the low balances overall, you're going to have available credit, and then you'll get the 3% for this category as well. All right, so earlier I was saying that we'll talk a little bit about interest rate. So it's always important whenever you're getting any type of loans, credit cards, to understand what your interest rate are. You always want to ask those questions. Anything that you apply for that's credit wise, well, what is going to be my interest rate, right? For any credit account that you open, because it's more money that you're being charged on top of the money that you borrow, right? So the money that you repay is usually going to be more than the amount that you borrow. And you may hear the word interest rate. That's the amount a lender charges to borrow money. And you may hear annual percentage rate. That's a yearly cost of borrowing money, which typically includes fees as well. So our two words are interest rate and annual percentage rate, which you'll hear a lot. You'll hear the word APR a lot. All right, now How do we know what our score is? How do we know to maintain good credit or excellent credit? You'll see here, this is showing with advantage. This is the range, 300 to 850 again. 300 to 659, it says poor, but we're going to say work in progress. 660 to 719 is fair credit. 720 to 779 is good credit. 780 to 850 is excellent credit. And this is all in your journals as well, page 1618. Based off this little range here, where would we like to be when it comes to credit? And feel free to come off of mute. We can all shout it out. Where would we like to be?
Excellent.
I
Excellent.
hear excellent. I hear excellent. I see the chat. We all want to be at excellent credit. So some of the things that we shared earlier, paying on time, definitely to pay on time to make sure that we get excellent credit, right? Keep a good credit history, keep those accounts in good standing as well. Now, the high cost of a low credit score, this is what happens when you get like a loan, for example. The lower your score, the higher the interest rate. So if we get $1,000 right now, the average interest rate at a 580 score, 28.5%. At a 719, 13.5%. The 13.5% looks way better than the 28.5, right? And if you're breaking that down to numbers, the monthly payment at a 580 score is $42. That's minimum per month. At a 719, that's $34. You probably think that's not that much of a difference, but it's over time when we're paying interest is where we see that we're paying extra money. Although we started off at $1,000 at a 580 score, we're going to pay almost $500 more because our score was lower. But the person at a 719 going to pay a little over 200. So having better credit will save us more money as well. Right? Will save us more money. So thinking about why should you care about your credit report? As I was saying earlier, it's like your report card. The creditors, they like to see that you have a good payment history at all three credit bureaus, that you're managing all your balances really well, you're keeping that information accurate, and you're managing the score. Because then they want to borrow your money. Right? Who gets to see our credit report? Jobs. When I first started working in banking, that was part of the requirement that they check the credit report. And I know now more jobs do it more than ever, where again, credit is associated with responsibility. So they use the credit background check as a factor, whether or not they want to get the job. As we mentioned earlier, definitely landlords, right? Before they give the apartment, they check credit. Banks, lenders, any type of credit you're getting from a bank or a lender, they're going to check. Insurance company. So even when we get that car, the car needs insurance, right? So the insurance company, they'll still give us insurance, but sometimes what they'll say is we'll pay a little bit more on insurance because our credit is not up to par of where they want it to be. Same thing with utility companies. I know like in New Jersey, like PSNG, they have this thing where they do like a credit check. And if you don't meet what the standard is, then they'll charge you initiation fee from the beginning. Like sometimes it's a couple $100s, right? So again, having bad credit costs us more money. A lot of the information that they can see, again, those public records, anything in collections, credit inquiries, personal information that identify you, any personal statements, negative reports, credit accounts, all those things will be on your credit report. All of these things here will be on your credit report. And in terms of requesting your credit report for free every 12 months, you can go on annualcreditreport.com that give you all three credit bureaus where you can check it. You also want to make sure that the information is accurate, right? I've seen in banking where somebody has a car in somebody else's name, they have a house in somebody else's name, credit cards in your name. So you always want to check that as often as possible. There's a lot of apps and banking apps that's out there as well that allow you to check your credit report. Annualcreditreport.com give you a full reporting without the score, but you'll get all the information that you need when you all are ready for that. Right. So you may think you may or may not have a credit report at some point in time. Like if you, I'll just say like for my seniors that are here, there's definitely something that you'll be thinking about pretty soon, especially like if you're thinking about going to school, going to college, or going to trade school. A lot of these things will eventually become important for you all. Right. A lot of times too, you'll be thinking about, should I use cash? Should I use debit or credit card? Use the credit card, use it for the emergencies. Use it for emergencies, right? Your cash or debit, that's part of your budget. You want to use that for those daily transactions. All right. Any questions on credit? You could definitely use your journal to write down some information, write down some of the notes that we shared. The website that I shared again was annualcreditreport.com. You can complete some of the steps in your journal, page 19 and 20, as well when it comes to the credit report. So we are at the end of our session. If there are any questions for me on what we discussed today, yes, Jasmine.
I just have a question. So, while on the internet and stuff like that on social media, a lot of young people, when like trying to introduce credit to teens, they talk about how when using a credit card, you should use it for like stuff like gas and groceries to build credit. So you don't agree, right? We should only really use it for emergencies, correct?
So that is a two-part answer. So you really want to use it for emergencies, but there are a lot of credit cards out there that will tell you, well, they'll give you cash back to use the credit card on gas, on groceries. So some people will use it for the cash back, for the rewards. There's some cards that'll give you back money in terms of mileage if you like to travel. Someone earlier said they like to travel, right? So it all depends what makes sense for you, right? You have to know that if you're using your credit card on a daily basis for like things like gas and groceries, think about how often you do groceries, how often you do gas, and how much those balances could potentially go up, and just ensuring that you're able to pay that off in the month. And if it's not in your budget to be able to pay that off in the month, then you want to use more so the cash you have or what's on your debit card so that you can balance it out and budget it. Great question, Jasmine.
How do
Thank
you
you.
know how do you know how much money you can spend on your credit card?
So they will always give you a limit. They'll tell you that the credit card, how much that credit card is actually worth. So the limit, let's just say 1,000, 2,500, and that's how you'll know in terms of what your full capacity is with the credit card. You never want to go over, you never want to max it out, but trying to maintain that 30% or less is best practice.
I have a question.
Yes.
Like how do you know what your credit card your credit score is and what your credit report is and stuff like that?
So when you're checking the credit report, it'll tell you where you fall, and then the range that I had up on the screen earlier, and I'll put it back up. This is how you will know where you fall. This is how you will know from this range here, whether you have fair credit, good credit, or excellent credit.
Okay.
All right. So I
I
know
have
that
a
there's one more question, okay?
Oh, sorry. Would it be a waste if you go under the limit?
Under the 30%?
Yeah.
No, even better. I know there's a lot of people that say, you know what, I don't want to just stick to 30. I want to do 10% or less or 20% or less. And that's how they budget and they limit themselves so that they don't go overboard. So that's actually even better.
I have another question.
Sure.
Like for the balance on your credit, like would it like what if you pay for the balance on your credit like earlier than you're supposed to? Like is that okay to pay earlier?
Yes. Yes. So you always want to also confirm, good question, if there's going to be a pre-penalty fee or not. Typically that would be something more so you would look at in loans, but credit cards, there's no time frame of when you to pay it off. But if you buy like a car, the cars tell you that you have 5 years or 6 years. It depends on the terms. So these are all questions before applying for credit you want to find out and confirm.
Oh, so that means I could pay for it ahead of time, right?
Yes, yes. You can also pay in advance, right? If you want to pay a little extra every month to pay that down a little bit faster, yes, you can.
Right.
Great question. I love the questions.
How long do you have to pay back your credit card?
So every month you'll get a bill and they'll tell you specifically what days due. So you want to pay always on that due date. If you want to pay a little before that due date, that's also an option. But credit cards, they have no time limit on when they end. You can have a credit card forever, but other things like loans, they will have a time frame and a time limit. Loans, mortgages, student loans, not necessarily student loans, but personal loans, lines of mortgages, car loans, those have a time frame. All right. I want to hand it back over to Latoya. I want to thank you all so much for your time, but I know she has like the post test for everyone. Latoya, I think that they're ready. They're ready with all the answers.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give Professor Tamara a virtual hand clap. Thank you
Thank
for
you. Thank you.
class. Such valuable information. I love how you all had some great questions because it is a wonderful topic that will greatly impact your life. Let me just share my screen and I'm going to ask you to log into Mentimeter. Let me put the link in the chat and we can start the post test. So once you're in there, you can go ahead and start answering this question. What is a goal? All right, answers are coming in. And also, as you're filling this out, just wanted to remind you that we do have a Q&A portion from 8 to 8:30. So if you have additional questions for Miss Tamara, if there's something else you wanted to go over. Also, Miss Tamara, I saw you had an activity in there about when to use credit and when to use cash. Maybe if you have some scholars on and they want to maybe take a guess at that, maybe that'll help them also continue to understand I know we ran out of time, but maybe they that will be helpful to also help them understand how to
Sure.
use credit. All right. All right, let's go. Well, let me show you the answer. All right, so what is a goal? A goal is SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Okay, when should you begin to save? Okay, the answer is immediately. Immediately. Next one. Okay, so the ability to buy now and pay over time. So this is an open-ended answer. You answer in the form of a question like we did for Jeopardy. The ability to buy now and pay over time. All right, and the answer is, what is credit? Okay, a 3-digit number that is compiled from the information about your borrowing and payment history. Okay, you guys are getting used to these Jeopardy answers. All right, they're coming in, but they're coming in a little slow. Okay, so the answer is, what is a credit score? What is a credit score? All right, this is the last one. Gather and compile information from companies that lend to you to create your credit score. Gather and compile information from companies that lend to you to create your credit score. All right, I think this one is a little tricky one, but I see the correct answer did come in. The answer is, what is a credit bureau? Or I guess it should be, what is a credit bureau? All right, awesome job. Thank you all so much for doing that. And at this time, I'm also going to share the survey. So please complete the survey before before we move into the Q&A portion and before you exit the call. I'll put that in the chat box now. If you can go ahead and begin to fill that out. All right, I see some responses coming in. So if you were not staying for the Q&A portion, once you have completed the survey, you're welcome to exit the call. We thank you all for being here today and again, learning about such a valuable part of your financial journey.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye, Jasmine. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks, Cameron. You too. Bye, Samantha. Thank you for being here.
Hope you have a great evening.
You too, Shania. Thank you so much for being here.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
What if you don't have a credit card?
So great question. Now, you mean what happens if you don't have a credit card, but you want to have credit?
Yeah, like later down the line, you know?
So the thing with credit is you have to have credit to build credit. So you eventually will need some of those options that I shared earlier. So whether you have a student loan, you start off with a credit card, or you can start building credit by being an authorized user on someone else's card as well. Those are other ways to start at least building the credit. But eventually when you want to be able to, let's for example, purchase a car, buy a home, those things, they want to see proven history of credit.
I got one more question.
Sure.
What is like the most ideal credit card company?
The most ideal credit card company. So I'm not sure if I can really answer that only because every lender does different things when it comes to credit card. A lot of lenders have different options. It's an individual choice in terms of what's important to you when it comes to credit cards, right? Some people want credit cards that have cash back. Some people want credit cards that have rewards. Some people like mileage points. It really depends on your personal preference. So that's something that you'll also start to decide when you're applying for credit cards. Well, what does this credit card offer me, right? When you get to the point where you're like either going to school or you're 18 years or older, everyone's going to start writing you and offering you credit cards. You have to now choose from, let's just say they give you 4 or 5 offers. Well, which one has the best? For a lot of people, I see in the chat, for a lot of people, it's the travel, right? A lot of people, it's the travel, it's the mileage, because usually something like, let's just say, flights, those are typically expensive. So a lot of people like that. Personally, I like cashback and rewards myself. Getting money back for spending money.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great questions. Any other questions out there?
Zen, we see you're still on. Did you have any questions for Professor Tamara?
Um, there's no there's no age limit to starting um like
The
building
starting
credit.
credit.
Yeah.
So I would say like the teenage age, if you're being added to someone else's card as an authorized user, some lenders may start like at 13. But again, not that you can go in yourself and apply for a credit card, but someone can add you as an authorized user to their card. But personally, when you want to be able to apply for cards, the age on that, I would say is 18. That's the starting age if you're applying on your own.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also have another question.
Sure.
Some like I don't know, maybe I just like I don't know, but I know that like credit like goes towards like almost everything, right? Because I noticed that some people or like some landlords they'll like not want to um like have you like rent or like you buy a house because like I guess like it's like depending on your credit and it's
Yes.
kind of like okay,
So
but
yes,
like
why do they use it as a factor?
yeah,
So, as I was explaining earlier, it's really because credit is associated with accountability, it's associated with responsibility. So they use credit to determine, well, if you're paying your bills on time, more than likely you pay your rent on time, right? Same thing with like, for example, jobs. It doesn't mean that you'll be a bad employee, but they're just trying to see if you're responsible with your bills, right? Especially the credit bills, right? If you're paying those bills on time and keeping them in good standing, this person may be a good employee, right? They may be a consistent employee, right? A long term employee. They just use credit really as a factor to determine whether or not they want to give us the apartment, whether or not they want to give us the job. It's just an additional, I would say, factor that's used. And overall, when it comes to credit, the credit score is what all lenders will use to determine if they want to give you new credit, the credit score, and the credit report to determine, well, if you're responsible with everybody else's money, you'll also be responsible with theirs. And if we weren't responsible, that means that we're risk to let us borrow money. Does that answer your
thank
question?
you. Yeah, it does actually. Thank you.
Okay, great. You're welcome.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you again, Professor Tamara, for this wonderful class.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
so much. All right,
And I
everyone.
look forward to the fall.
Yes, it'll come
Good night.
around like 1, 2, 3, I'm sure.
Right.
Good to see you. We'll
You
definitely talk
too.
soon. I'll be in
All
touch,
right.
sending you follow-up
Okay.
information from tonight.
Sounds great. Everyone have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.